So again, we're not doing any notes this time because again, you've already taken notes on area plenty of times. There's also the thing posted online. So again, the notes for area would just be the formulas. You got to memorize the formulas. So starting off with the first problem on here, you can take one of those, or you can take a blank sheet of paper that's underneath it, like that stack there. Take a sheet from there. That's fine. So again, just starting off with the first problem. Again, all these come from previous tests. Now, a couple of them I tweaked a little bit to make slightly harder because some of them I thought were a little easy. So there were some slight tweaks to some of these, but for the most part, they're from previous tests. So on this one, what is the area of the triangle in centimeters squared? So again, easy problem. As long as you know your formulas. You are not given a single area formula on the FSA, so you have to know all your area formulas. Now, first part of any area problem is to identify the formula that you have to use. So on this one, it's an easy one. What's the formula? 1/2 base times height. Area of a triangle. Area equals 1/2 base times height. Second thing you should do is identify what parts you have. So, do we have base and height on this triangle? Yes. Now again, it's not these two. These are useless values. They don't mean anything to us. The two that we need are the 5 and the 12. Why are the 5 and 12 the base and height and not the 6 and 11? Perpendicular. Again, base and height are always perpendicular to each other. So the fact that we have this right angle there is very important. So the 5 could be our height, and the 12 could be our base. So then, plug them all in. So we have everything we need. 1/2, the base, times the height. Half of 12 is 6, and 6 times 5 is 30. So 30 centimeters squared. Again, remember your units as well. Now, and that's probably the easiest problem that I have on here today. All right, but again, you have to be able to identify what formula you need to use. You have to be able to identify the parts that you need to plug in. You need to be able to plug in those parts, and then you need to solve. Now, some problems aren't going to ask you to find area. Some might give you area and ask you to find different parts, like on this next problem. So, take a minute, solve for H. And yeah, sorry, when I copied some of these, apparently the cursor was still there when I copied them. So some of them have the cursor right to do the problem. So you're not tempted, let's just put it back. You can scoot it back over there. So you're not tempted. Same thing with what is this? Into this page. And again. Oh, darn. Oh, I thought it was a home key, so I hit it.
So this one, so this one you hit right.
Yeah, this thing.
How do we put this?
We don't need that. Yeah, but read the problem. They give you something in the problem.
46 5 right? Because 42 equals simple. You don't need a calculator for that.
So you need a calculator for this.
42 is okay.
Yeah, just good. That's it, right?
Okay, so you have 42 equals 5 times 8, right?
No, 7. 7. Go.
Bye, Brandon. I love you.
Congrats.
Brandon.
Your test. Now go.
Oh, hey, where are you?
Nice.
No, go.
Go.
Where were you, Brett?
Hey, you got info socks on?
You just kicked them right out.
I don't need them distracted anyway.
Here you go.
Alright, so what formula do we use?
Base times height.
Base times height. Area equals base times height. Now, do we have the base?
Yes.
Yeah, so if this is the height, you could use either this side up here at the top as the height, sorry, the base, I mean, not height, as the base, or the side across from it, which is the same thing, right? So either one of those. Do you need the 10?
No.
No. Extra information, not needed. So they gave us the area, 42. They gave us the base, is 5. We're looking for the height. So now, just divide off the 5. So what is 42 divided by 5? 8.4. All right. And again, probably should also say 8.4 centimeters because, again, it's a height. So you should include your units. Yeah. Next. Huh? I'm good. Thank you, though.
You sure?
All right. Find the area. Again, you may have to use some of the things we talked about the last couple days.
That's 8. Yes. No. You should. Go back. So base 1, base 1.
I need a calculator for this. Because
Just be that. 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times 1 times.
I don't remember off the top of my head. Hold on, let me look. No. More.
Oh, yeah. Wait, okay, so it's 32 plus 16. That's 42. No, that's not 42. That's 52. That's what 52.
let's see that. Is it this number?
I think you forgot to take a half.
I'm supposed to hack this?
Because it's 1/2 base 1 plus base 2. It's the average of the bases.
Oh,
So, throw a half in there and you get it.
312.
wait, it's 1/2 base and base.
1/2 base 1 plus base 2. This is the average of base.
Why did I think height was involved in that?
No, it is. You do have height.
You just told me.
1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times height. Doesn't matter what you put height. But again, you need a
Okay,
1/2.
fight me. So I'm just gonna half this number. And then I'm good?
Don't break the door handle. Oh, I should. It was you, wasn't it?
No, it's Casper, my best friend.
Casper.
Why do you have so many emails? Oh,
Because I haven't earned it at this point.
Uh-huh.
You stopped me in the bathroom. No, I'm just serious.
Is it
Ask Caitlin.
12?
Huh?
Alright.
I need to know how to make them.
So, what's the
I
formula?
tried to teach you, I think.
You did, I forgot.
And I think I sent you the video too.
Alright, I'll see that. I'll see that.
Now, if you rearrange this a little bit, that's fine. Again, the idea here is if you average the bases and multiply by the height, you should have the area. So, on here, we have a value for B1. We have a value for B2. Do we have a height? No. These are not the heights. Now, unlike the other one where there's just extra information, we need to use these values to find the height because we don't currently have the height. How are we going to find the height?
Pythagorean theorem.
Pythagorean theorem would work, or
Is it a triple?
it is also a triple.
That is.
So, what do you guys find it to be?
Oh, 24.
It is 24, which is 10, 24, 26 is our 5, 12, 13, just doubled, right?
Oh, that's simple.
Now, again, if you didn't know that one, then you use Pythagorean theorem. So let me go ahead and show the work for Pythagorean theorem off to the side. Because if you were to use Pythagorean theorem, you have to make sure you plug the 26 in as your C value. The 10 would go in as maybe your A, and then the H can be your B. So 26 squared, 676. 10 squared, 100. Subtract the 100, you get 576. Square root it, and you get 24 for H. Now that we have an H and we have both B's, you can plug it in. So, 1/2, 16 plus 36 times 24. 16 and 36 is 52. Now, doesn't matter what order you multiply this in. I'd go ahead and do half of 52 and get 26 times 24. 26 times 24 is 624. So, 624 centimeters squared. Any questions? All right. Rhombus. So, find the area.
That one is a thick diagonal.
Yes, I did.
I didn't know it was worth my sister told me.
Oh, yeah.
I know 4.
I remembered this morning. I put an alarm so I wouldn't forget.
Sometimes 12. It would be.
I gotta remember to tell her when I go to pick up the 20s. See if I remember. I'm horrible at remembering.
Oh, yeah. Which one is E? Is that one close to A?
Oh, I'm gonna pick them up today.
If you forget, I'll tell her you said happy birthday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is E in the middle?
E is that one.
Okay, thank you.
That's not really essential to the question.
Diagonal.
I didn't have to
I
do
lose
it.
my mind. Do we multiply?
But if you want to, that is what I was referring to. What is this chair?
I'm going to assume that I'm supposed to multiply them, and when I'm wrong, I'm just going to sit here and laugh at that.
Hey, stop harassing Marty.
Oh, maybe they used it. They were doing tutoring.
Or did you do it? I think it was. I actually I don't have that. Cut it in half.
I don't quite get why multiplying the diagonal works, which is why it hasn't stuck with me yet.
Now, there are two area formulas for rhombus. Tell me one of them.
Base times height?
Base times height is one of them. Do we have base and height on this problem though?
No.
No. So we're not using that one.
Because the other one involves diagonal.
Diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 times 1
Okay, so yeah, you need a 1/2 in there somewhere. So 1/2 D1 times D2. Alright. Or again, D1 times 2 times 1/2, or D1 times D2 over 2. However you want to recite it. But do we know diagonal 1, diagonal 2? Yeah, those are actually the parts they gave us. So AC could be D1, this one could be D2, and we just have to plug them in. So diagonal 1 is 9, diagonal 2 is 12. Doesn't matter the order that you multiply these in. So I think it's easiest to do the 1/2 times 12, since it's an even number. And then 9 times 6 is 54. And that'd be centimeters squared. Good? Alright. Next. I like this nice small class because it's like I can get through problems a little bit faster. Alright.
Oh, no.
We have a kite.
I don't like
Now,
that.
there are two questions. You have to be able to answer the first question before you can answer the second question. So,
What? Hold on. Nope. I just can't pass.
yes. Yep. We have two tutors left. This one's it, and
That's 3. That's 6.
Sure, you got it in your head.
Yeah. JL.
Nope, that's not right.
The area is 12 times 3. 36. 6 and
This
36.
was diagonal too.
That's
Maybe it's 1, actually.
Maybe 4 and 8. Yeah, it's 12. And then that was 4, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 and 36.
Hey, well, you got the second.
What?
I had 104. How did I get a second high score?
Somebody had a 1-5.
Mr.
The
Spivak.
bonus was worth 6 points.
Mr. Spivak.
Okay.
I think you got dinged for like, I can't remember if it's rounding or units. On like 2 different questions. I think it was.
Who was it?
Who had the 105?
Is it in this class?
I think it might have been actually 2.
I don't know how to do it.
Chloe in my 5th grade was 1.
Mr. Spivak, come
And I
confirm
think
that
there
I
was one
wrote
other
this
person.
wrong.
I can't remember who that was.
Because this doesn't look right. And I want to make sure that it's not right.
Hmm?
That doesn't look right. But I don't really remember. What? That's right. Ew. I hate that I know that formula.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So, now, you didn't have all the parts you needed to start the problem off, but label what you do know. We know this is 5, we know that this is 4, we know that this is 8, and if these 3 make a right triangle, then what's this missing piece? 3. And if that's 3, then NL is also 3, because in a kite, those two would have to be congruent. So then what is JL? 6. Again, that entire length is 6. So that's 6. And again, feet. Make sure you include your units. There was somebody. Wait. Did you just come in? Wait, who opened the door? Oh, okay. It's like, I was confused for a second. All right, so now. We also need this diagonal. So 8 plus 4 is 12. So we need those two diagonals because, again, our formula here is the same as the one we just used on the rhombus. A equals 1/2 D1 times D2. So plug in 1/2. Diagonal 1, doesn't matter which one you call diagonal 1, I'm going to call it the 12. And then 6. 1/2 of 12 is 6. 6 times 6 is 36. So our area, 36 feet squared. Good? Yep.
So basically, if it involves the diagonals, you gotta have it.
Okay, the formula works for this one and the rhombus because it's essentially your formula for a triangle. Your two figures are made up of two triangles. So it's like your base and height of the triangle.
Okay. That's
Right.
the thing.
And again, the diagonals have to be perpendicular in order for it to work as well, just like base and height have to be perpendicular.
Yeah, I'm talking like anything with diagonals, that's the formula you're supposed
So
to use.
if it has perpendicular diagonals, you can use that. All right. Next. What is the area of a regular pentagon? Now, this one's much harder. All right? Shh. Much harder question. I changed it slightly from the test question because on the test question I gave you the apothem. But again, they might not give you the apothem on this type of question. Now, we did this way back when, and we had to use something that we did yesterday in class. Well, that was from 2 days ago. Yesterday was SOHCAHTOA. Yeah, sine, cosine, tangent. So you have to use trig to find your apothem in order to do this one. So this is a longer problem. See if you remember how to do it.
I really don't. It's a regular.
I'll give you a hint. You have to draw in a triangle.
Okay, so yeah, wait, maybe I do.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I
isn't
hate
that
it.
10 right? Is that length 10?
No, it's not a hexagon. If it was a hexagon, that would be 10. But it's not a hexagon. So we don't know that length.
So the bottom line.
Hexagon, we can use our special right triangles.
Gotcha.
But on this one, we have to use trig.
So it's not we can't, it's not 5 for the base.
5 for the base works, that's fine.
Okay, that's what.
Yep.
I have the big confusion.
What's the interior?
So
straight?
there's more than one way to do this problem because there's different angles that you could find.
Is it 12 and 13?
Hmm?
Is it 12 and 13? Or no?
I'll tell you this, it's a number followed by 0.88. That way you know you're on the right track.
5.8.
Is this one of the ones where you have to find the sum of the interior and
How is Link tiered? Link is
You
like.
could do that.
Okay, because I don't remember how to do that.
Okay.
N minus 2 times 180.
How do you do that?
You could use that.
Are there any slightly more productive ways to do it?
I'd use the fact that around any single point there's 360 times.
That helps me in absolutely no fashion.
Stuck?
Yeah.
Alright.
Hold on.
You guys need a little help?
Yes.
Alright. Let's nudge you in the right direction here. So, let's first split this into not just that one triangle, but if I was to draw in all of these. Now, this is not a hexagon, so these are not equilateral triangles, but they still are isosceles triangles, right?
Oh, they're isosceles.
Now, and they're all congruent to one another.
Yeah.
So, we have 5 isosceles triangles that are congruent to one another. Around any single point, there's 360 degrees. So, easiest angle for me to find in here would be 360 divided by 5, and that gives me what? 72. Yeah, okay. Maybe we should go over this real quick. Ready? Shh. You guys know how to divide by 5, right?
No.
So, if you have...
Minus the 0.
Yeah, alright. So if you have a number that has a 0 after it, you just double the number and move the decimal point one place.
What? Hold on. What?
I've never heard that.
You can do that?
So, 36 times 2, 72.
Why did you have to go up to the board for that?
Why did you multiply
Alright.
Why didn't you tell us this ages ago?
Because for every 10, how many times does 5 go into 10? Twice. So, if you look at this as we have 36 tens,
Okay.
36 times 2 is,
I don't care.
and that's your answer. Alright, so,
Come take a dragon. And I'll let
all of these are 72. So now, how does that help us? Well, it gives us this angle, because then if this whole thing's 72, half of it is,
Half is, 33.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. What the heck?
so now, we have an angle in that right triangle. You guys already told me what this was. And we need to find this piece, which is our apothem. So use trig to find that piece.
Oh, that's not bad.
Alright, let's just use that counter question. Not 360. How do you get 360?
Because-
From the sides, right?
Because I split it into 5 equal chunks, so there's 5 sides. Right? So 360 degrees are on a single point. Around any single point,
Oh, yeah, because it's...
360 degrees. Right? So,
Oh,
so then just divided that into 5 equal parts. Now, the other way you can do it is you can use the idea of it's pentagon. So you could do like n minus 2 times 180 and find one of those interior angles. And then once you find one interior angle, you divide that in half.
Yeah,
And you can
half
use that angle
AB.
instead.
Oh.
So there's more than one way to do this.
Half AB, which is fine. Wait,
Nope.
But either way, you're going to end up using trig. It's just you'd use a different trig ratio if you use the other angle. All right.
Okay, I got it. Somehow.
How are we doing on A?
wait.
The apothem.
Okay, so that. What would that be? That would be the apothem. How do you do the area? The area
You
is
have to use your on your face.
I got that. That's what I thought.
Okay.
Oh,
That
yeah.
goes into your A, and then you have all the other values, right?
Get distracted when I was supposed to get one what is the point of that? Is that the area?
The area.
Why do I think that's
Wait, 1/2 times. Wait, is this right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I'm going to assume that I did that
That would be the
right.
apothem.
It's the holy water. It's actually
Yes.
And multiply by 6 and multiply by 10.
Winter's,
Do that?
fire.
Wait, what does X stand for again? That's the number of times.
I have that.
S is the side length, and is the number of sides.
Semi-dragons. Remember, I made one of these dragons that went up to my shin. It was a lot of fun. Also, I've been doing it. I'm never doing it again. Big calculator. Like, it's like Mr. Spizak. You know that weird paper that they give teachers to cover like sections of the board? It's like huge.
Chart paper?
Yes, I made a dragon out of that, and it went to my shin. And I gave it to my first grade
Where do you
teacher.
keep these so that they don't get crushed?
They get crushed. I have a specific dragon pocket in my purse. For dragons.
It's just really like so disappointed in our generation.
No, this isn't a joke.
It makes me think of
Mr. Caesar.
just you keep them in your purse. It makes me think of
Remember Swimming?
Fantastic Beasts.
I've never been so confident in my life.
All right, so a lot of you guys got the correct apothem. The correct apothem is 6.88. All right, so let's talk about how we got there. So again, if you're using the angle that I helped you find here, based on this angle, the 5 is the opposite, the A is the adjacent. So opposite and adjacent is tangent. So tangent of 36 equals
A big number. I don't
5 over 8. So you'd have to move the A over first.
multiply. Yeah, this
So you
is
have
the one that we did yesterday.
A times tangent of 35 equals,
0.7 something.
sorry, 36 equals 5. And then we'd have to divide off tangent of 36.
Mr. Caesar.
So A is 6.88. Now, I would keep a couple decimal values other than just 6.88. So, again, let me go back to my work in my calculator here. 6.8819. Now again, if you have it in the calculator, you can hold on to it. You don't have to erase it from your calculator. Leave it in there and do the rest of the math you need. So we have area equals 1/2 ASN, or area equals 1/2 AP. You can use either one, doesn't matter. We have all the values we need. 10 is the length of a side. Number of sides is 5. So plug them in. We have 1/2 the 6.88, which I'm really going to use more decimals, but I'm just writing it out like that for now. S was 10, and N was 5. So, if I do 1/2 of 10, that gives me 5. 5 times 5 is 25. So now I have 25 times 6.88. So notice, in my calculator, I just multiply then by 25. So I got 172.05. And again, that's rounded. But again, there's a good chance if you're doing this problem on a test, because this is a problem where if you round it earlier and you're asked to round to like a hundredths place, your answer might vary slightly. There's a good chance this could end up being a multiple choice question. Because a lot of times if there's a question where there's a chance for rounding error to occur, sometimes they'll make that into a multiple choice answer, so it's the closest one. But again, just be careful with rounding too early.
Mr. Spizak?
Yes.
I'm not getting 0.05.
0.05. What are you talking about, 0.05? Well, again, did you save any more decimals besides just the 0.88?
No.
So again, I kept it in my calculator as the whole thing. Like it kept going even past this. It was like 90 blah 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 blah. So I just took that value that I had after I did this and multiplied that value by 25.
Okay, counterpoint.
Again, if it's asking you to round, guys, if it's asking you to round to 2 decimal places, you should not round into 2 decimal places until the end of the problem. So like I would recommend maybe even 4 decimal places or 5 decimal places until you get to the end of the problem. Right? Again, you don't want to round off too early or it's going to change your final answer. And the bigger the number for the final answer, the more it's going to affect it if you rounded too early. Alright. This one's easier. It's still on the same idea, except this one's what shape? Hexagon. And a hexagon, we're dealing with a special right triangle. What type of triangle happens in here if we draw in our apothem?
Oh, that's the
Huh? 30, 60, 90. So,
30, 69.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, I had it in my mind.
So, there's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So you can use the properties of that on this one instead of having to do the sine, cosine, tangent. Alright? So, take a minute, try that out.
Okay, so that means
Exactly.
I feel like this table's just always on. I don't think things ever walk by.
oh, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Why would it be anything else?
100%, that's all him.
No, I'm kidding.
All in?
Yeah, it's all him.
He starts it.
100%.
20.
No.
That's
You always.
hold on. I already
You're
said
not, no, you're not topic already. I just continue the
this one is
conversation.
fine.
You just
and
read
this
it
is the
further.
wonky one. The
Yeah,
next
exactly. That's my
fine.
job.
Like, we just do one little thing, like, okay, let's take it. It's like, actually.
Yeah, that's just my job. I gotta keep things to straight.
What? Hold on. Oh, so then it's 10, 20, and then 10. I messed that up. Okay. Wait, hold on. You didn't need that.
Sure.
We have to come in with the 31. Is the 30 the long one? The opposite?
You fell for the common
No, I know that. No, the 30, the one with the.
With 30, 69 triangle.
Yeah, that's the one I was
I
around.
wouldn't say 63, but I'm
I
wonder if you know that was.
Me neither. They're all. I don't know how to work.
Yeah, so change it
I
to
mean,
at 3.
reasonably, I know how. I just figured out.
I haven't thought about kind of thing. I was like, don't make that mistake. You know, it's not blocking.
Again, it's there for a reason. It's a common mistake.
They're like wanting to be a square, but not. 20. 20. Why is it 20? I hate that. Okay. Wait, and then we need to look for the area to be. That's a lot of big numbers. Wait, that's a radical. I think I messed it up.
The radical means? So, you just multiply by that square root. So,
Oh, yeah.
20
20 times 6
It's easy to
times
multiply square root. And it's times y.
So 10 times
Like square root.
1,000, that's not right. 60
Yeah.
60 times 20.
Like kind of square root.
54,000. I think I am wrong. Am I right? Times 1. Oh, wait, no, that's
I
just
just
stuff
ordered
theory.
I just ordered
20, 120.
The state, but not the county.
I'm the big end.
The state's allowing it, so like, if the county wants to, the county won't tax it. So like, yeah.
I was thinking, but I said 60.
Again,
No, but like, but
it's controversial.
Wait, what is that? What's the 31 do?
Yes,
So
they-
then it would
you don't really
I was get red 30 is the lucky one. Okay.
Pasco, like they had the guardian program started. They'll be allowed now. So.
Isn't that required worship?
like 3
Wait, hold on. I know that. Where did you get
Class does not use this.
Making notes about that for all these band teachers. You gotta play. You just play your part, right? No.
Oh, guys. Alright, so, on here, now, this was a multiple choice question on our test when we did area. And again, I just want to point out, the answer choices here there's a correct answer, but then the other 3 are common mistakes. Because, let's say, you got it correct. The correct answer is C. But you got to make sure you use a square root 3. If If you forgot to use square root of 3 and you did square root of 2, you would have got B. If you forgot about the square root altogether, you would have got A. If you forgot to half it, you would have got D. So again, there's things there that you probably came across as you were solving the problem. And again, depending if you did it correctly, you may have got C or you may have got something else. But down here, if this is 40, this is 20, which means that the whole side here is also 20, and this piece is 10. So if that's 10, this is 10 radical 3. So we have 1/2 ASN, 1/2 our apothem, 10 radical 3, times the length of a side is 20, times the number of sides, 6. 1/2 of 20 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100. 100 times 6 is 600. So 600 times radical 3, which is then 1,039. Yeah. All right.
I just want to math that.
Didn't want to math that. Yeah.
You know what I
Okay.
mean, though.
On number 16, another figure. One that we don't do a lot, but again, you'll probably see it on the exam. Which shape do we have here?
Circle.
Not just a circle, though. It's the shaded part of the circle.
Fancy one.
It's a sector. Yeah. And again, how do you find area of a sector?
Hold on. 30, no, M over 30.
M over 360 times formula for area of a circle, pi r squared. Now, when you do that, remember, it's the fraction of the circle you're using. So here, it tells you 120. But again, if you know what fraction of the circle it is that you're using just by looking at it, like this, 120, hopefully you know 120 is a third of the circle. So you could either plug 120 in here, or just replace that entire fraction with just 1/3. If you had a 90-degree angle there, then you could just replace it with 1/4, and so on. So again, it's just the fraction of the circle you're using times area of a circle. So take a minute, solve it.
What is the length of the remaining
Oh.
Yeah, it's not area.
The shaded area in the period below. What's
So what is
pumpkin
length
pie?
for-
What is the
Length of the remaining.
thrust? Oh, made a mistake. Hold on. I didn't make a mistake. Sorry.
How dare you?
The next one is the sector area. So let me write that down over here for the next problem. This one is not asking area.
It's acting the arc length.
Arc length.
So that's what we
That's even worse.
So get rid of the pi r squared and put 2 pi r.
Okay.
So arc length is fraction of the circle times 2 pi r.
10 times pi. I really don't want to math that. Wait, hold on. Wait, that. Hold on.
It's easy. It's 31.4.
Guys, hold on. No, it's actually not that
And then you
hard.
divide that by 3.
That is roughly 10 something. Yeah, that's roughly 10 something.
I have a question about machination. So, sections has to do like the ones that come up when you very first log into machination, right? Just
So you go into math-nation, go into geometry, and you name test yourselves at the bottom of each one of the sections. You don't have to do any of the actual lessons, like none of the video stuff. Just skip down past those, and it's at the end of all 10 sections to test yourself.
Okay, good enough.
All right. Again, it's really just plugging in. So you can plug in the 120 over 360 if you want to. You can plug in the radius of 5. I probably would have just said, looking at this is 1/3. So now, 2 times 5 is 10. So we get 10 divided by 3. We get 3.14. Times 10 is 31.4 over 3. And finally, if we divide by 3,
10.46 something?
oh,
10 point less than a half.
I did mine by hand. so it might
31.4
be
divided by
wrong.
3. 10.46 repeating. Yeah. So, round to the nearest hundredth, it'd be 10.47. And this was in inches. Oh, not inches squared. Just inches. Just inches.
Well, I suppose it is inches. Don't like that. Can we go back to centimeters?
So whatever the problem is in. Alright. So, sorry. Now the next one is the area. Is this the last one I had? I had one more after this. Guess we're not going to get to everyone.
Wow, one slide is
So again, for this formula, instead of doing this, what's left?
What?
What's left? Where do we find area? Just one slice, right?
Yeah.
So instead of doing the measure over 360, what could I replace that with?
The amount of slices.
1/8. So 1/8 pi. What's the radius? 6. Yeah, so 6 squared. We had to do half of the diameter. So that's 36. So we got 36 over 8 pi. 36 divided by 8 times pi.
4.5 pi?
So that'd be 4.5 pi, which is then 14.13. And again, this is in inches.
Where are we buzzing?
This is area, so it's squared. Alright. Oh, we just didn't get to the last one. Alright. I'll post the answer to this one.
Mennonite and Brawl and Baby. Okay, those are the only, maybe the
Sine of the square.
What does this mean? That here's your stabbers back.
characters not going anyway. Yeah, those were the only
I should have put away my stuff in Spanish while I was in this class.
I don't know. P2 is only made.
And this is how I end up carrying 90% of my stuff now.
Yeah, and people mains won't let you forget it. They literally tell you except for these small stuff.
Huh?
I know. Well,
Thursday and Friday of next week.
yeah, I know. Eddie's back. I know, but P2 mains will complain about the character. Okay, Fox mains and Brawl or Mennonite mains will complain about the character.
give out complete hundreds.
No, I feel Mennonite and Brawl.
I'm like, what in the world? He gave me a
Usually
99.
Jazz sucks, so therefore the character is awesome.